Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the elders, double honors to the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers, the 144,000 and the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird among the heathens, that look like the heathens. And to the few Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm, coming at you another lesson. Once again, giving a shout out to all my fellow laborers who do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. This is Isaiah 29:15, and it reads, Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from Yahweh, and their works are in the dark, and they say, Who seeth us, and who knoweth us? I watched a video of a film crew adjusting the body of a young man who was alive, and adjusting his legs and limbs, and the blood splats on his clothes and near his head on the ground as they were putting him in position so that they could videotape it. Why were they doing that? All right. Were they going to, was this a movie? No, it wasn't a movie. They weren't actors. What were they going to use that for? Were they going to use it on news or in a commercial, or to show how devastating and how evil Hamas was or is? And I just find it interesting that these people, you know, who've been doing what Hamas did to them for decades now, you know, cry victim when it's done back to them. And that's first thoughts come to your mind. But then when you begin to look at the whole picture, you know, I don't know if people are aware, but the people, the citizens of Israel, are really rallying against their government as of lately, constantly, you know, going against the government and being oppressive to them. All right, they're not very, you know, many of them aren't fans of Benjamin Netanyahu, not a JOO. All right, they're not a fan of him and his regime. And so it's a perfect timing to quell all these different rebellious, uprisings and protests, I should say, when you have an event like this happen. But I'm going to play a TikTok video. And because there's another one, I don't see hers on here, of a former IDF soldier who actually worked at Gaza at their defense center there. And she talked about how high tech, well, you know, all them tens of billions of dollars a year of aid, of welfare that leaves America. So, you know, the biggest welfare recipient on the planet is the land of Israel. All right. So we see some of those billions of dollars, monthly, every 6 months, or however it goes, that it went to this system, which can detect if a pigeon or stork flies close to it. All right? So I'll let this guy speak.
This was not a surprise attack. We have the Israeli Defense Forces as one of the most trained and best equipped armies
See if
in
I
the
can
world.
brighten that up.
We have Mossad, one of the most sophisticated and widespread intelligence agencies in the world that make surveillance an art form. It's on the cutting edge. It knows everything that's going on in that area. And we're talking about a very small area, but somehow hundreds of Hamas, quote, militants put thousands of rockets into Israel, which they somehow gathered or built or whatever, without Mossad and the IDF having any idea. Oh no, we didn't know about that. We had Hamas operatives coming into Israel on frickin' hang gliders. But they never knew it was coming. How did 400 Hamas pass through today? The answer is they were allowed to. This was not.
Yep, man. Once again, he's wearing a white shirt, and you can clearly see that his face is red. Edom is not, it's not so-called white. They're the Edomites that the Bible speaks of. But nevertheless, it brings into question what really happened. And it all, makes sense when you look at the bigger picture. Because now all this attention is on, over there on the Valley of Jehoshaphat, which is in Western Asia. There's no such thing as the Middle East. They made that phrase up to fit their narrative. All right. I will always tell you that Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Israel, Turkey, Syria, Iraq, Iran, that's all Western Asia. All right. That's exactly what it is. Midway would be like, Salakia. Midway would be like right with China, the beginning of China, Nepal, the far east portion of Kazakhstan. That's about midway. Mongolia, the beginning of Mongolia. That's about midway. If you were gonna say the Middle Asia, that would make more sense than the Middle East. There's no such thing. So they made that term up because what they call the Middle East sits in Asia. All right. So just to put that out there. All right. So I'm going to play this video from Jimmy Dore with Norman Finkelstein, and I like this guy Norman Finkelstein. He speaks very passionately against the land of Israel and their crimes and the things that they do, which get overlooked because they're always playing the victim. All right, babies beheaded and all the stuff that they're saying. All right, when the truth of the matter is, well, he's gonna tell you. Let's let him say it. When you're talking about sensitive matters, let's let it come from someone who's actually Jewish. Let's let him say it.
Here is the question. What were the people of Gaza supposed to do? I'm going to give you a frank, personal admission, and I'm not proud of it. But I want to place this current situation in context. I first became involved in the Israel-Palestine conflict in June 1982, when Israel invaded Lebanon. I ended up writing my doctoral dissertation on a topic related to the Israel-Palestine conflict. And then I ended up devoting the whole of my adult life to that conflict. 40 years. And come 2020, even I gave up. I started to write about other subjects. I thought the situation was hopeless. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of guilt stirred up inside me because I realized I was abandoning a people trapped in a concentration camp.
Damn.
Are you still interested in a solar-powered generator? Pay special attention, because I'm going to do something that until...
Assholes.
Now, I don't want to be emotive. I don't want to be dramatic. However, it behooves me to say both my parents were in concentration camps during World War II. My mother was in Majdanek concentration camp. My father was in Auschwitz concentration camp. And I was riddled with guilt that people facing circumstances like my parents, and I had abandoned them. So, if even I had abandoned them, not making any claims to sainthood, but simply the fact that I invested 40 years of my life in that conflict and finally had to resign myself to the fact that nothing can be done. So, does it really support?
This proves that the world is ruled by Israel. Israel has its claws and its control in both Britain and America. All right? The people who own America and Britain, lock, stock, and barrel, are in Israel. The Rothschilds and their families and their constituents. All right? Remember what Mayor Rothschild said. He says, give me the control over a nation's money, and I care not who makes his laws. All right? This statement, and this proves, because the Israelis can do, they can, and look, it's fact. And they'll start screaming anti-Sem this and anti-Sem that, but it's a fact that they control the majority of the media. And when you bring up factual information like that, they start screaming foul and anti-Sem when it's just simply a fact. You're in a position of control. You control the majority of the banks. You control the majority of the media. So what stories get put out there, you even, to the media, to as much as you can have a crew go out and, use Steven Spielberg type movie tactics and, use makeup to put holes in people and lay them on the ground, and then, or pay a crowd of people to run and scream and make noise as you set fires to cars and shoot guns with blanks in it. Just giving you an example. And then it was like a wag the dog event. And then you put it on TV and sell it, as dramatic death and destruction. These people, have done this. All right? They've done this. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 29. And it reads, Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of my help, and who is the sword of thy excellency. Thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places.
Prize you. Is it really a shock that a couple of days ago, the people of Gaza, most of whom, let's bear it in mind, most of whom were born in that concentration camp. Mm-hmm. They were born in...
I just find that so interesting that, the Israelis milk that whole thing, the World War II thing. It was a horrible thing. But there were other atrocities that equaled it and far surpassed it. When you look at the time span and the amount of life that was lost here in the Americas, hundreds of millions of natives and hundreds of millions of slaves that got taken from Portugal, Spain, and then from West Africa, and but yet their suffering is not used to this day. As a matter of fact, they're told to forget about their suffering, whereas the Jewish experience, you're to always remember. All right? And that's what I just find it interesting that the same situation that they were in World War II, they forced these Palestinians to live in a basically a concentration camp existence for decade after decade after decade. Like he said, there are people born into that and they've never known anything else. And the crimes that go against them, they get beat to death, raped, killed, shot, maimed. Children get their eyes poked out. They do all types of things to these people, but it never really makes the mainstream. It only ends up on little underground videos, that they'll just say it's misinformation.
To it. Does it really shock you that they would do something desperate to break free of that concentration camp. And who dare criticize whatever tactics they employ? I am not approving it, but I am not disapproving it.
I have to agree with him. And see, when it comes to Esau, Edom, the only language they acknowledge is violence. That's why they commit so much violence. All right? You can't march and protest your way out of this. You know, if you're being held down with a boot to your face, all right, with a boot to your back, pressed onto hot coals, the only way out is to fight your way up and put the person who's pressing you to the hot coals onto the hot coals. So how, you know, and that is the question. He asked a very legitimate question. What were they supposed to do? What other options do they have except to fight violently to take back what was taken from them? And here's the crazy part of it. All right. You got Abdul Gabal Nasser, I believe his name is. In 1951, the president of Egypt, when he made the statement that these Israelis, you will never have peace in this land. For you, Salakia, I'm getting over a cold, so I still haven't got my voice back fully yet, but I feel much better. But when he said, you left here black, but you came back white, who are you people? You'll never have peace in this land. Well, what that tells me is that the Ishmaelites, who are Semitic, who live in that land, know that the Israelites were so-called black. Everybody knows. But yet but when you bring that up, you're hateful and you're racist. Look, Jeremiah 14:2 states what it states. When it says, Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish, they are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. I just find it very amazing that any book, any other literary work, when it calls someone black, you picture, Samuel Jackson or Morgan Freeman, Oprah. But in the Bible, you don't picture them. You picture something that's completely opposite of what is explained. Skin of bronze, woolly hair, bronze skin. All right? Over and over again. Just saying.
Because I don't know what I would do if I had been born into a concentration camp and spent 20 years of my life there.
I know exactly what you're going to do. You're either going to die there, or you're going to fight your way out, or you're going to die trying. Because I believe that's what I would do.
Yeah. I've seen you in videos talk about what a lot of these IDF soldiers have done to these children, these kids, and taking out eyes and limbs and whatnot. But I want to stay with Hamas for a second because I think this is important. Because there's a lot of people right now, especially when it comes to our government, our lawmakers, they immediately go to Hamas. They single out Hamas and they say Hamas is a bunch of terrorists, they're awful, and that somehow manufactures consent for the United States to supply Israel with as much weaponry as as we can, and then for them to go after and with no compassion whatsoever bomb buildings and schools and hospitals. I mean, I don't think we see a month go by without a Palestinian baby getting killed or shelled or shot.
And nobody cares because they think they're all a bunch of AK-47, crazy jihad, people, when they just want to be free and want their land back. But it's not their land. By Abdul Gabal Nasser saying what he said is evidence the fact that he knew and the Israelis knew. But they went over there anyway. But you know what? That was to fulfill prophecy. Prophecy said that Edom in Ezekiel, the 36th chapter, it tells you that they would take that land. In the 34th chapter, it lets you know that there will be a controversy. The controversy of Zion. Why? Because through unrighteous dealings, let me grab that. This is Ecclesiastes 10 and 8. And it reads, because of unrighteous dealings and injuries, riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So they translated this land into themselves and the wealth into themselves. And then they claim the heritage of someone else. All right? That's exactly what's happening here. And they are being found out to be liars. Really the victims while playing the villains. Why I call them the villain victims. Because that is exactly what they are. In Ezekiel, was it Isaiah? I said Ezekiel, it might be Isaiah. The slip of the tongue. Yeah, well, one is in Ezekiel, one is in... one is in Isaiah. Isaiah 34 and 8 reads, for it is the day of Yahweh's vengeance and the year of recompense for the controversy of Zion. So what this whole Third World War is going to come down to is identifying who the Israelites really are. All right? That's what it's going to turn to in the end. And the whole world's going to know. Because the Lord is going to visit Basra, and guess what? Right now, the land of Israel is full of, is as a Basra stronghold. The ultimate stronghold of Basra. The worst of Edom is Amalek, and that's who is in the Holy Land. The Lord said he would have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Well, this is the last generation of Amalek. So hand claps to that. This is the last generation of Amalek. So any of our people that are among them, the Lord's going to draw them out, and the rest he's going to do what he's going to do. Let's go to Ezekiel 36. And I'm going to start at 2, then jump up to 5, and it says, thus saith the Lord power, because the enemy have said against you, aha! Common saying among, the small hatters, the JOOs. Even the ancient high places are ours in possession. They possess now the Holy Land. Right? The number one enemy from Psalms 83. Verses 1 through 6. Go read it. Ezekiel 36 and 5. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession with all the joy of their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey. So the real Israelites have been casted out for a prey, and Idumea, the Edomites, have appointed the Holy Land into their hands. And now they're trying to cast out Ishmael violently. All right? Through unrighteous decrees. So with that, I'm going to give all praises, all honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash, Wa Abba Kwam Yasharala Shalom.